For most of you, there should be a sense of a divine call of some sort, something that is propelling you forward, something that is calling you to a greater purpose. And that's where the material starts to come together in the training that we're doing, that the mountains of me, which is where your personal capacity is found, are actually being developed, and you're in a sense working on the full capacity of what you possess so that you can answer the great calling that is on your life. And the calling is to climb and continue to climb until you've been able to plant your flag at the summit of becoming the person you're called to be, doing the thing you're called to do, and in the end having the reward that you're destined to have. And this relationship between personal capacity and calling or convergence is the part that I want you to see playing out now, because the journey between these two works through that pyramid of beliefs we also looked at a moment ago, when we have the way that your life has been at some period in time, formed by the experiences that you've had, and the beliefs that you've formed out of those experiences. And the tragic thing about beliefs is if you don't have a wise guide or a mentor, you could come up with all kinds of wrong conclusions as to why things aren't working. You could blame them on, cosmic forces, the climate, other people, or you could actually start to exercise that power of emotional intelligence, which is so strong in personal capacity, which is called personal responsibility. You can start to say that I take responsibility for everything I think, everything I feel, everything I say, everything I believe about me. I am now going to run through a different grid. Remember the glasses. The most powerful level in all of the belief hierarchy experience, triangle is the belief that you have, or the interpretation that you give to your experiences. Because this is going to form your identity. That's going to be, who am I? These experiences and the beliefs I have about my experiences are going to become the references that shape who I am. Whether I'm victorious or whether I'm a victim will be shaped by whoever's got control of this. You need to own your own glasses. You need to take off what you've been wearing your whole life and examine, are they working for you or against you? Who gave this prescription to you anyway? Because then you could start to form the new beliefs that create some new decisions. And then you start getting new results. The beautiful thing about new results is the more you develop your capacity here, the more you tend to experience levels of convergence and breakthrough. You get to visit results over here that reinforce, hey, you are on the right track. You're making progress. And so that brings us to a very powerful module, and that has to do with your personal history, because all of this has been at work in your life. Have you ever taken the glasses off and looked at what you believed about yourself, what your experiences were in life, what conclusions you came to? Has it ever occurred to you that there could be malicious cosmic forces, call it the devil, call it whatever you will, that are very intent on lying to you about who you are, what the world is like, who you can trust, what you can do, what you can never do? See, I'm going to tell you something. That's why the operative key word in faith is the word believe. Because there's, with the Bible, for those of you that are people of faith, you get to have a whole new criteria for testing what you see, what you hear, and what you believe. Because if it doesn't line up with what the Word of God says, you have legal grounds to change your beliefs, to create new decisions, to produce a new harvest of experience. Starts with taking personal responsibility for everything you're doing. And instead of being a victim of someone else's conspiracy, you get to examine the various stages of your life. What are the positive, plus moments of your life? Where are the moments in your life shaping your belief, shaping your identity, calling you to cultivate your capacity, showing you the possibility of what your highest calling and potential might be? What were the moments when you visited these other modules? Well, the way that we look at this is your experiences can be either positive or they could be negative. Life is made up of these positive highs and negative lows. In terms of the material that you've got your personal history map in Becoming Unstoppable. And in this map, we have examined the high points and the low points. I put Peter in here. That was where I was at that day. I could put Steve Jobs in there. I could put Winston Churchill, Abraham Lincoln. Probably put a historic figure in there would be good. Matter of fact, that'd be great for you to practice with. Can you at least do a superficial analysis of some key figures in history to be able to come up with 4 high points, 4 low points? And what did they believe about themselves coming out of those points? You're going to see something interesting. Matter of fact, let me go to a whole new piece of paper and examine this more fully. I did this at an executive retreat out in California, and it was life-changing. And I really recommend that you do this as a trainer and as a teacher yourself. And do it with a group of like 4 people, or yes, a good group, because each of us took 15 minutes to share our personal history chart. And there's nothing that opens you up to intimacy or connection with other people like sharing your history in a transparent way and having them give you positive reference feedback, because that identity really gets vulnerable when you start looking at this process. You got the positive life experiences up here. You got the negative experiences down here. I want to take a look at these. And what we do is we look at, let's say, we got the timeline down here on the bottom. Well, the timeline, you could do any kind of timeline you want, but I just do a life timeline. So you can say earliest memories, and it's, of my childhood, of this, and then I had that experience, and I had that. This was a high, this was a low. Then I had a period of lows marked by this, and then this. And what you're looking for is you're looking for the graph to be able to give you kind of like a heartbeat for life. And what you'll notice is when you've done this process yourself, you could do this, by the way, on a specific area, like my experience with work, or my experience with romance and with love. Or you could do it, my spiritual journey. And each of these is going to tease out for you incredible insights into what? Into the results you've been getting because of the decisions you've been making. And you've been making them because of the beliefs you have based on the experiences of your life. Gives you a chance to go take the lenses off and re-examine them. In these positive moments, in my experience, I've found these are the breadcrumbs that actually lead you to your convergence zone or your ultimate calling, that place where you answer the call of life to do something that matches your sense of prophetic purpose and calling. But the breadcrumbs these are the moments when you were having positive experiences regarding yourself and the world around you. At least this has been my experience working with various clients. Now, these low points are particularly interesting. They're not all bad, by the way, because life has low points built into them because, in a sense, the richness and the depth and the texture of your life is based upon your engagement with reality and being able to bounce back. Who wants to listen to someone that is an overcomer, who had nothing that they've overcome? Someone who has a story which inspires you is someone who's... That's why politicians always embellish their resumes. Here I came up out of poverty. I know what it was like to suffer being misunderstood. Then you find out later on that their parents were Ivy League, professors, and that they lived in the best part of California and went to school. But everybody likes to embellish this part. The truth is, you do have pain. And you do have pleasure. And what you want to do is treat those imposters the same. Because during your pain, the most dangerous thing that happens is what we call an oogle boogle. That's an ungodly belief. It's a belief that doesn't match who you really are. I'm stupid. I guess I can't do this. Well, I'm fearful. I'm afraid. And so what you want to do is you want to deal with the belief systems that you've embraced out of your life experiences, because they have shaped your identity. And you take a look at what you're believing about yourself during these things. And also, oh my gosh, huge thing, personal responsibility versus the victim. We've made an industry out of being victims in the United States, but the truth is, people never grow by being victims. They grow by taking responsibility. Even if you are being persecuted for your faith or for your beliefs or for your skin color or for the color of your eyes, for that matter, if you take personal responsibility for how you respond, what you say and what you do, you're the one who wins in the contest, because you're increasing your personal capacity every time you increase personal responsibility. So personal responsibility means, how did I allow this to affect me in the future? How did I allow this? In other words, what decisions was I making because of these in my life that were giving me results I don't want? Personal responsibility is saying, how did I contribute to setting myself up for these disappointments? So everybody always talks about, the terrible job and the terrible boss, but who went to that interview and who picked that job and who said yes to that assignment? Or the person they dated who was such a loser. Well, who chose to hang out with a person? And by the way, what clues were you missing? What indicators did you see later on of selfishness or narcissistic personality disorders or whatever, or violence? What were the clues you didn't look at? Because that's all part of the personal responsibility continuum. The main thing I want you to catch here is, when you look at your life in terms of phases and stages, from adolescence to teen to right now, and you step away and you examine the glasses that you've been wearing, and you look with responsibility at what's happened and how you could maybe have seen it differently, looked at life differently, done something differently, you'll begin to proactively shape the choices you make in the future, because the next time you start behaving in a way that moves you in that direction, you go, this is a pattern I've got to be aware of. These here reveal the constraints in your thinking, in your emotions, in your habits, or if you want to be mystic, perhaps in your family history and bloodline. Those are constraints, but these patterns here give you promise of where your convergence is trying to take you. And if you can manage these constraints and break them down with that personal history map, my gosh, you will have done yourself the favor of living your life twice. And in many cases, living it in such a way that you don't make the same mistake a second time you made before, and setting up a whole new cycle of history for the next chapter.
Friends, let me tell you a little secret here. When the world is falling apart, things are shaking, and there's vast uncertainty and emotional instability, and you're traumatized by the headlines that you see in the news, that's the perfect time to fulfill your destiny. I don't know if you've ever thought about it, but Joseph came to his preeminence in a crisis. Daniel shows up in a crisis. Esther fulfills her destiny in a crisis. It takes a crisis to position you for a promotion. The secret is, in the midst of the instability, when the walls of Jericho go down flat, you have to be positioned to go straight into the assignment God gave you. The problem is, so many people are distracted. So many people are disempowered. So many people are entangled by the circumstances of earth that the anxieties and the distraction robs them of the calling. I want to coach you for the next 30 days in how to make this season of your life the greatest season of your life. I want you living your life not at a half point, not at a partial point. I want you living a level 10 life. I've created a new series called level10living.com. That's where you can go to get it. Level 10 Living was designed exactly for you at this moment. It's where I'm coaching and mentoring my friends and family and colleagues on key content that I've learned over the last 35 years about how during times of crises, the very greatest advances happen for people of destiny. I want you to learn the secret of becoming unstoppable, learn the secret of identifying what you want to see manifest in the midst of the confusion. I want you to learn the secret of being able to discern the voice of God in the cacophony of other competing voices. I want you to know how to experience profound peace in the middle of a storm. All of this is available in level10living.com. You need to go there now. I want to help coach you and walk with you and journey with you through the next season of destiny.
Always be scanning the environment for new information. Everything that I see actually connects together with ideas that are maybe not even introduced by the author, or the writer, or the teacher I'm listening to. For instance, I was watching with great interest the research of a team of corporate culture trainers whose goal was to go into companies and find out what it is that they're doing wrong that's impacting their profitability. And basically, instead of doing an overhaul on everything, they focus on a few things. And this is a very important point for all of you in personal development, coaching, and training, and in your own life. You don't need to work on everything. You need to work on something. And this is the essence of one of the areas we're going to cover in the material called constraint theory, which says that, you know, when you look at the wheel of life and you look at everything that goes into skill, knowledge, and ability, and everything that goes into motivation and state, it can be overwhelming. Like, where do I start? Oh my gosh, I can barely get my room cleaned up, and here I am trying to become a Navy SEAL overnight. No, that's not what's happening. What's happening is this. You're going to identify the 1, 2, or 3 things that will have the greatest payoff. You're not looking for incremental transformation. You're looking for exponential change. Therefore, you zero in on one thing. So, for instance, if you remember, like I'm interested in Bible metaphors because that means a lot to me, because part of my background is a degree in like biblical theology. And I can remember some moments when Jesus in the Gospels would encounter somebody and be a rich young ruler or something. And Jesus would put his finger on the one thing that that person needed to do in order to test the congruence of what they really wanted in life. And he'd say, sell everything you've got and give to the poor and follow me. And it's like, boom, he just put his finger on the constraint. Instead of a whole life makeover, that rich young ruler said, what do you want me to do? I could do this, I could do that. And Jesus said, just do one thing. The one thing that'll change your life typically is going to be a behavior that needs to adjust, because an attitude and a belief system is going to be rewired when you change that behavior. So observe how this works. These writers and these researchers were saying that in terms of corporate culture, if you want to change the result that you're getting in terms of profitability, then they wanted to look at what were the key decisions that needed to be made differently, because your decisions always produce results. I'll put a little harvest bale of hay here, put a picture in there. Your decisions always produce results. What they observed was that the decisions that were made by customer service, made by employees, made by factory reps and builders were all based on beliefs. And so your beliefs shape your decisions. But what shapes your beliefs? Well, they said your experiences. Now I want you to really see where I'm going here. These are corporate change agents who go into companies, and they say, if you want to change the bottom line in this area here, focus on just maybe 1 or 2 or 3 key decisions that have to be made differently. And that's because we need 2 or 3 new beliefs, new ways of seeing how to engage the business, the customer, the process. And the reason why that has happened is because the experiences people have had have formed these beliefs that lead to these decisions, that create these results. Change the strategic view, and you alter the outcome at the bottom line financially. So then their goal was to find out what those key decisions were. Now here's the thing that was so cool. This would be culture 1. Culture 1 is created by the experiences the companies had, the beliefs the management and the employees have, the decisions they're making because of those beliefs, and the results they're getting. But what they found was so insidious was the fact that the most powerful level of all levels is not the experience, but the belief. Because the belief puts the glasses on you. You could say your beliefs shape your perception of what you've experienced. Your beliefs re-educate what you think is happening in your life, so that your beliefs create the decisions that you make. Now these guys, remember, this is a secular business environment. What they began to do was they designed training to produce new experiences that would lead to new beliefs, that would lead to new decisions that produced new results. And as a consequence of that, the organization had a new culture. They created a book for this research. I think it's called Change the Culture, Change the Game, Change the Culture, Change the Game. If you want to change the outcome here, you're going to have to go to where the experiences, beliefs, and decisions are that created the first culture. And I looked at that and I said, wait a second. This is actually what happens in a person's life. A person's life, let's put a table here. I got to find another pen. I got to go with a black pen. Okay, so here's a tabletop. And on this tabletop, this is going to be your identity. How important is identity? Identity is everything. Do you see yourself as a winner, as a loser, as capable, as not capable, as strong, as weak? It affects how you show up. It affects your whole state in the x-axis. So identity is pretty important. What do they do in the military? Well, in the military, you get off a bus, you get off the train. First thing they do is they shave your hair, they put you in a uniform, and they start yelling at you and making you line up on a line and standing a certain way. Everything is traumatizing you, but what they're doing is they're going to change your identity from a pimply kid in high school to a Marine. And so these areas here, these legs, are referred to as reference experiences. Reference experiences, you see where that is? They're going to create whole new experiences. And they're going to have you jumping out of things, yelling, yes, sir, you're going to be disciplined, you're going to be a Marine, and you're going to kill. And suddenly, you know, you got a bayonet and you're stabbing things and you're leaping and jumping. And what's happening the whole time is they're creating more reference experiences. And what is each of them saying? Your new identity. I'm a Marine. I'm a Marine. I'm telling you something. The military has a consistent track record of transformational experiences. You can do all the personal coaching you want. Paris Island will definitely have an impact on how you see yourself if you ever make it through there. Identity is shaped by the reference experience you have. If you have disempowering reference experiences and you believe the wrong thing as a result of that, if you fail at something, I have a friend of mine, for instance, who's a brilliant entrepreneur, and he was told he was stupid. He was stupid because he couldn't read. He wasn't smart like other kids. Well, you know why? He was dyslexic. He was never diagnosed for dyslexia. He didn't know. He believed he was stupid. The decisions that he made as a stupid man were different than the decisions he started to make when he realized it was a reading disorder and he could figure out ways of working around it and build $100 million businesses. Patton, I believe, was dyslexic as a commander in the Army. The reference experiences you have don't shape you as much as the belief system you have about your experiences, which is why the rabbi, the teacher, the preacher, the father, the mother, the manager, the older brother. This is why authority figures have great responsibility, because they can recreate for people identity based on how they see reference experiences. And by the way, it's also how you see in American culture today, total destruction of culture on a wholesale level, because we have curriculum now that is training a generation to reinterpret the experiences of American history in order to make victims and anger come into a new generation, or shame and disempowerment, in order to create new decisions that will have its own devastating results. So this is not just personal development. This is the blueprint for how society itself is made healthy or unhealthy. And it starts with understanding. If you want a new culture, you have to embrace new experiences that will help you form new reference points for beliefs that create new decisions that lead to new results. And that's the belief pyramid. We call this, by the way, this process of creating new reference experiences, these new belief systems that are coming in, we call these glasses significant emotional events. That's how the military does it. Significant emotional events determine how you see yourself and how you see the world around you. You want to be the architect of creating new experiences to form new beliefs about yourself and about others. Because when you do that, you can make some new decisions and you're going to see some new results. That's the power of the belief module.
Lance Wallnau shares how understanding and releasing the power of your personal story can unleash your gifts and destiny. Learn more at level10living.com. And don't forget to use the code PODCAST to save 20%.